Prison structure and criminal rehabilitation. Under the national project, the prison system is structured around the principle that not all criminals present the same threat to society. Punishment and rehabilitation should be separated by risk level. And prison systems should protect both the public and prison staff while reducing long-term reoffending where possible. The framework rejects the idea of a fully uniform prison model and instead divides prisons into ranked security and behavioral classifications based upon crime severity, sentence length, violence risk, and prisoner conduct while incarcerated. The objective of the prison system is to separate low-risk offenders from violent offenders, maintain institutional order, reduce prison violence, encourage rehabilitation where possible, and isolate persistently dangerous individuals from the wider prison population. Rank A prisons. Rank A prisons are designed for low-level offenders, non-violent offenders, and prisoners serving sentences of 2 years or less. The primary purpose of Rank A prisons is rehabilitation, work development, and reintegration into society. Prisoners within Rank A facilities participate in factory work, vocational labor, practical production programs, and nationally directed maintenance systems. Labor programs may include production and support work for the NHS, schools, public maintenance services, and other nationally required infrastructure systems. The purpose of these programs is to reduce long-term taxpayer costs, provide practical work experience, develop discipline and routine, and support lawful reintegration after release. Prisoners are paid controlled prison wages for work completed within the system. However, 60% of prison wages are automatically taxed, while the remaining funds are placed into secured release accounts. These accounts become accessible upon release from prison. The purpose of this structure is to reduce homelessness after release, provide financial stability, and lower the likelihood of immediate reoffending caused by economic desperation. Rank A prisons also provide education, trade training, literacy support, and behavioral rehabilitation programs. Rank B prisons. Rank B prisons are intended for longer-term offenders, repeat offenders, and individuals convicted of more serious but non-violent crimes. These facilities operate under stricter conditions than Rank A prisons while still maintaining controlled rehabilitation opportunities. Prisoners may receive basic vocational training, educational access, reading materials, communal television access, and controlled recreational periods. Rank B prisons also operate structured labor and factory systems linked to NHS support production, school equipment manufacturing, public infrastructure supply, and state maintenance programs. The purpose of these systems is to reduce operational costs to public services, maintain prisoner discipline, create structured routine, and provide behavioral incentives within the prison system. Prisoners participating in Rank B labor programs may receive controlled prison wages under the same secured release account structure used within Rank A facilities. As with Rank A, a percentage of wages are automatically taxed, while remaining earnings are stored within secured release accounts accessible upon release. Participation, discipline, and long-term good behavior within Rank B prisons may allow prisoners to become eligible for early transfer into Rank A facilities. The purpose of this progression system is to encourage discipline, work participation, behavioral improvement, and rehabilitation through structured incentives. Rank C prisons. Rank C prisons are designed for violent offenders, high-risk criminals, and individuals convicted of severe violent crimes. This includes crimes such as rape, grievous bodily harm, murder, severe organized violence, and other major violent offenses. Prisoners serving sentences exceeding 10 years are generally placed within Rank C facilities and less elevated further due to prison behavior. Rank C prisons operate under strict movement controls, increased supervision, restricted privileges, and harsher disciplinary systems. Prisoners are housed in 4-person controlled accommodation units. Educational and rehabilitation opportunities are significantly reduced compared to Rank A and Rank B institutions. Additional restrictions may be imposed upon prisoners who create disorder, threaten staff, assault prisoners, or undermine prison security. The primary purpose of Rank C prisons is containment, public protection, and maintenance of prison order within violent offender populations. Rank D prisons. Rank D prisons are reserved for prisoners who demonstrate persistent violence, repeated assaults within prison, organized criminal activity while incarcerated, or inability to function safely even within Rank C facilities. Placement into Rank D may occur regardless of original sentence classification if severe prison violence or security threats occur during incarceration. These facilities operate under the highest level of restriction within the prison system. Prisoners are housed within 6-person controlled units, permanently supervised environments, and heavily restricted movement systems. Outdoor access, recreation, and privileges are tightly limited and continuously monitored. Rank D facilities also contain dedicated disciplinary punishment sections for severe violence, attacks against prison staff, organized prison criminal activity, and repeated security violations. The purpose of Rank D prisons is containment of persistently dangerous individuals, protection of prison staff and prisoners, and preservation of wider prison security. Behavioral movement between prison ranks. The prison ranking structure is not entirely fixed. Prisoners may move downward into harsher classifications through violence or severe misconduct, or upward into lower security rehabilitation-focused facilities through sustained good behavior and compliance. The framework is designed to encourage discipline, prison stability, behavioral improvement, and gradual reintegration where possible. Purpose of the prison system. The prison system is intended to balance punishment, public protection, prison order, taxpayer efficiency, and controlled rehabilitation. The framework argues that low-risk offenders should be reintegrated into society wherever possible, while persistently violent individuals require stricter long-term containment. The system also aims to reduce reoffending, prison disorder, post-release homelessness, and long-term taxpayer burden created by repeat criminal behavior. 8.1 Cost, prison structure and criminal rehabilitation. Low-cost scenario. Assumptions. Existing prisons largely retained. Rank system introduced gradually. Limited new construction. Existing prison staff retrained. One-off costs. Item cost. Prison reclassification program £25 million. Staff retraining £25 million. Behavior monitoring systems £25 million. Administrative changes £25 million. Total one-off cost £100 million. Annual running cost. Item cost. Additional rehabilitation staff £50 million. Education and training programs £25 million. Prison work administration £25 million. Annual cost £100 million. Medium cost scenario. Assumptions. Full national implementation. Factory workshops expanded. National Prison Work Programme. Release Account Administration. One-off costs. Item cost. National Prison Reform Programme £75 million. Factory and workshop expansion £75 million. Staff retraining £50 million. Prison management systems £50 million. Total one-off cost £250 million. Annual running cost. Item cost. Rehabilitation Programme £75 million. Education and trade training £50 million. Work Programme management £50 million. Administration £25 million. Annual cost £200 million. High cost scenario. Assumptions. Major prison rebuilding. Large factory expansion. Significant legal challenges. Extensive rehabilitation facilities. One-off costs. Item cost. National restructuring £150 million. New facilities and workshops £150 million. Staff expansion £100 million. Legal and regulatory costs £100 million. Total one-off cost £500 million. Annual running cost. Item cost. Rehabilitation programs £100 million. Work program management £100 million. Education and training £75 million. Administration £75 million. Annual cost £350 million. 8.2 Savings Program. The primary financial benefit comes from reducing repeat offending and reducing long-term prison demand. Low savings scenario. Year savings. Year 1 £50 million. Year 2 £75 million. Year 3 £100 million. Year 4 £150 million. Year 5 £200 million. Medium savings scenario. Year savings. Year 1 £100 million. Year 2 £200 million. Year 3 £350 million. Year 4 £500 million. Year 5 £750 million. High savings scenario. Year savings. Year 1 £250 million. Year 2 £500 million. Year 3 £750 million. Year 4 £1 billion. Year 5 £1.5 billion. 8.3 Public production value. Rank A and Rank B prison specifically mention production for NHS, schools, public maintenance, infrastructure support systems. This does not create direct profit in the traditional sense. Instead, it reduces what government departments would otherwise spend buying those products. Potential products: school desks, school chairs, classroom storage, NHS uniforms, hospital bedding, hospital furniture, maintenance uniforms, basic office furniture, prison uniforms, national service uniforms, workshop equipment, storage units. Low production value. Year value. Year 1 £25 million. Year 2 £50 million. Year 3 £75 million. Year 4 £100 million. Year 5 £150 million. Medium production value. Year value. Year 1 £50 million. Year 2 £100 million. Year 3 £200 million. Year 4 £300 million. Year 5 £500 million. High production value. Year value. Year 1 £100 million. Year 2 £250 million. Year 3 £500 million. Year 4 £750 million. Year 5 £1 billion. Combined year 5 financial effect. Medium scenario. Category amount. Annual operating cost £200 million. Reduced reoffending savings plus £750m. NHS schools defence production value plus £500m. Net fiscal effect. Plus £1.05 billion per year. Recommended working assumption. Item amount. Setup cost £250 million. Annual cost £200 million. Year 5 reoffending savings £750 million. Year 5 public production value £500 million. Treasury note. This chapter should be classified as a rehabilitation and public production program. Unlike a traditional prison system which is almost entirely a cost center, this model attempts to create reduced reoffending, reduced prison demand, reduced welfare dependency after release, reduced homelessness after release, reduced NHS procurement costs, reduced school procurement costs, reduced national service equipment costs, reduced government purchasing costs. If the work programs function effectively, this chapter could realistically become one of the few justice policies that produces a positive long-term fiscal return rather than simply reducing losses.